Hi, this is Stacy with Gooseberry Bridge Farm, and this is Bentley and Robin and Teddy is around here somewhere. We are in the garden. We were picking peas, and we just wanted to show you how much everything is growing. All right, there's Teddy. We are in our rows of direct seeded peas and tomatoes. There's tomatoes in here, you just can't see them. Pea flowers are so pretty. These are sugar snap peas. And then here is one of our tomato plants that you can hardly see in this mess of peas. I just pruned all the tomatoes yesterday and removed the lower leaves and the little suckers, some of them anyway. And we're waiting for them to get to the trellis. He's showing us this big pea he found. So these peas just started producing in the last few days. So we've been picking like crazy, and they're about 5 feet, 4.5 feet tall. These other peas are reaching the top of the trellis. These were planted in the greenhouse just a few weeks before the other peas. But we have about 8 or 10 tomato plants on each one of these rows. Each row is made up of 2 16-foot cattle panels, except these rows back here have a gap, so it makes the row a little bit longer. So they have 9 or 10 tomatoes on the row. Then we have a row over there with our onions. Those are getting really big. I'll show you that soon. But for now, we're picking peas, and it's kind of a never-ending situation. What?
Tomato.
There's a tomato?
A big tomato.
Where?
Tomato
Oh, is it falling over? It does have big tomatoes. We'll go look at those. All right, so this is the onion and tomato row, and you can see the onions are finally starting to make bulbs. There's something to do with daylight hours and whatever else. And this is the tomato Teddy wanted me to show you. This is I think it's a Black Beauty tomato. I didn't pick the buds off of it this year. And I also apparently missed this when pruning yesterday. So I can show you how I prune them, which is kind of hard with all these onions. But the onions are also helping support the plant in the event of wind or something. So this tomato actually, since it started making fruit, like a lot of fruit on its main stalk, this here is actually a sucker. And I'm gonna leave it on there because it's growing taller and it's gonna get up here, and this has got so much fruit on it. There's something weird going on with this plant. It has 2 more suckers, and the top of the plant appears to be covered in tomatoes, and you don't want to take the top off, but like maybe the top broke off because something strange is happening here. So we're gonna let this sucker be the main stalk, but I am gonna cut off this one. And I've been collecting tomato, these tomato cuttings, yeah, the suckers. You can root this and make a clone of your tomato plant. And I've been collecting them because I have a friend who needs some tomato plants after her garden didn't work out. So I took off the big leaves, and then I'll put this in a cup of water and wait for it to grow some roots. Can you hold this steady? Okay, now I need to take off this leaf down here because we don't want any leaves that can, and this one for that matter, get splashed back from the dirt, and that helps prevent disease. Now I really would like to probably tie this up, but I'll just do that for right now, since we're not expecting any major wind events. But planting onions between your tomatoes is supposed to help prevent disease, so we're trying it out. I've also got some dill and basil kind of interplanted with this, where the onions were struggling. There's some dill. I'm not sure where the basil is, it's very small. So anyway, then there's another tomato, some more dill, another tomato. On this side we have also some dill, some marigolds, just trying to plant anything we can. These peas won't last through the summer. So I'm trying to make sure that I get something else growing kind of behind them. Teddy wants to show you this tomato. Don't pull it off, buddy. Those are Brad's Atomic grape tomatoes. They're kind of crazy colored. And that one is actually really big and fat for a Brad's Atomic grape. They're usually more like the shape of this one. Again, I said this year I did not pick the buds off when I planted my tomatoes. I'm going to see what it does. I can already tell they're growing slower, but I have so many. A little slower isn't that big of a deal. I would like more tomatoes earlier. So normally I plant all slicers on these rows, but this year I did a cherry on the end of each row so that we would have snacks, and all these onions. There's also some full-size, here you can see them over here, branching sunflowers at the ends of these rows they just make it really fun in here with the sunflowers, and they attract pollinators. So this back row doesn't have peas or onions. Please don't do that, Teddy. It has dill basil for most of the row. There's a couple other plants. There's a zinnia there. There's a tiny sunflower that Teddy's trying to step on. Here's a little look at our herb area. My little path here that I made to try to knock back the grass seems to really be helping. Okay, we'll come look at that in a minute. Oregano is getting really big. It's about time to harvest that before it blooms. I've got some eucalyptus I just planted in here. It's pretty pitifully small, but I'm hoping it will make it. Actually looks like it's getting some kind of fungus, but I have low expectations on the eucalyptus. Sweet potatoes. There's some peppers and forage in there. We've got our rosemary, and a difference from last time.
This one.
Just a minute, buddy. Last time we had all our tubs lined up here, and I decided to move them over to the new area of the garden where we do not want to cut holes in the weed fabric and plant stuff because there's too many weeds. So we planted, these are bush 55, Ace 55 bush tomatoes. They're only supposed to get, Teddy, can you stop walking in front of the camera? They're only supposed to get about 3 or 4 feet tall and about 18 inches wide. And they're not supposed to need support. They are a determinate variety, so we don't prune them, except that I've been cutting off the lower leaves just because they were very sad because they were in their pots too long. So we'll see if this works. I have a backup plan for supporting them if they are truly not able to support themselves. Here we've got some peppers, basil, peppers, basil, peppers, bush beans, volunteer, ginormous chamomile. We pulled out our spinach today because it was bolting, and working on planting more basil here and kale. We replaced our cabbage, except for there's one straggler there, with squash and zucchini, and there's some basil interplanted with it, and we still need to get the rest of that spinach out. The kale should keep going a little longer, especially since it has afternoon shade, but the spinach is just done and the cabbage was all ready to eat. I have some beans, some more viney tomatoes here. It's going to be a battle to plant them next to the grass, but we'll do what we can. And we also finished up our raised beds. Teddy is going to show us a pepper he found on the pepper plant. Again, like I said, we did not cut off the buds. So here we've got tiny peppers. This is an Ozark pepper. There's a Jimmy Nardello, and there's one on that plant too. It's another Jimmy Nardello. There's one on this plant. So hopefully those will grow into full-size peppers. So let's go look real quick at what we've got in our raised beds. So these beds we talked about in one of the last videos. It took us all the work to get these filled, and they are filled with almost all things we had on our property, like dirt that came from a driveway project, and rabbit poop compost. This is composted hay from that was the hay bale that was sitting outside. I did put a little bit of purchased raised bed soil on the tops of these beds. There's a layer of rabbit poop, which is why you can see the hay sticking out and that rabbit bedding in there. And then there's just a layer of the soil just to give it something else on top. So this bed has zucchini and squash, basil, dill. The one behind me is basil and peppers with a few zucchini in the corner. We're just gonna see how they do. It's kind of crowded, but I kind of don't expect it all to do that well. So we'll see. And I also threw some radish seeds in here to try to just cover the soil with and shade out any weeds while the other plants grow. So the radishes usually pop up and grow to full size and really do a good job shading. Like I've got some over here. I'm calling it radish mulch, so we'll see how it goes. I still got a bunch more to find homes for. This is one of the beds we planted a little bit earlier, and these peppers have grown a ton, as you can see, compared to these. So that is promising that these will do well. Last year I had a lot of issues with our raised bed soil, so I'm hopeful that this is a good sign they're gonna do better. So here we have dry bush beans. We have all of our bush green beans. The potatoes looking huge. This bed right here is a little like triangle strip of onions with one random garlic. And these are squash that I put in there because I'm just trying them everywhere, basically. We got a little section of okra, some more zucchini and squash. And then when we get over here, we have okra all the way down here and then tiny baby okra over there. Okay, we had these feed sacks out there, paper. We were using them to mulch and putting them in the bottoms of the raised beds. Like when I filled this bathtub and converted it to a raised bed, the flies are so bad. I lined it with the paper before dumping the rocks in the bottom because I didn't want to like throw rocks at the bathtub and actually ding the finish, because this is actually a really good bathtub. I tried to sell it on Marketplace and nobody wanted to pay what I wanted it for it. So here it is. We also have this toilet, which I think was in one of my last videos. It was part of an outdoor bathroom we had. We didn't use it as a toilet. It was a planter just for decorative purposes. But now I'm having a lot of issues getting things to grow on my bean structure because I have some nasturtiums in there, but there's no beans. Like they won't grow through this grass, and every time I pull out the grass it just comes back. It's Bermuda grass. It's horrible. There's a few volunteer beans in the middle and they're struggling, so I put beans in this, and I put these tubs next to the bean structure here and here, and I put sunflower seeds and beans in the tubs so they can grow up to the thing. Did you seed this one, Robin? Robin seeded this one. I can see some of your sunflower seeds popping up or out of the dirt. You should stick them back in. And then we have some volunteer sunflowers we transplanted to this one. I also have glads in both of these tubs, but I don't expect them to do anything. The bulbs were on clearance and they seem pretty miserable, but if they grow, then they grow. We're gonna go cut some more sticks to use for that, buddy. We're gonna put some sticks in there to try to connect them to the trellis. So over here are the tubs that we moved from the back of the garden. The volunteer chamomile, and I've put all sorts of stuff in it. They're mostly herbs. This one's parsley and a tomato. This one is cilantro, sunflowers, and a tomato, and some dill. This one was all volunteer, but I did add a pepper and a sunflower, sunflowers, basil, and peppers. And no, I didn't see them. I'll come over there in a second. Borage and sunflowers. This is that borage that looked so sad in one of my previous videos, and I was planting it everywhere, and it's doing so well in this tub. This little guy's falling over though, this sunflower. So then we have this one. This one already has a few sticks to help. We planted beans there and a cucumber, and also some sunflower seeds. One's coming up. Some basil, some peppers. We put a tomato over here, but you will notice that it looks awful. And I think this might be a cucumber. That's why I put it here by the stick. We've got some basil, some dill, but this tomato did not like the stuff that I filled this bed with, which was like rabbit poop sludge. I've never had rabbit poop do this to anything before, so I'm not sure. And this is a bean and it's doing fine. It was planted the same day. This is fine so far. There were a couple, like right here, there was a dead basil, but most of them are okay. This one has the same kind of brown on one leaf, but they look okay. So I'm not really sure why that tomato was so sad. Rabbit poop is a cold manure, so it shouldn't burn plants, but clearly it did. Here on this side, Robin wants me to show you, we have loofahs, and then we have beans. There's one or two coming up in the gap. Beans, another loofah, and then we have more. These are pole beans, so they're all along here. They're gonna grow up this railing. I don't know if to mow back here. And then there's some more loofahs. The loofahs were really struggling. Here's another one down here from their pots, but they're finally looking better. This one has finally made a green leaf, and it's starting to send out the little curly things again to latch onto. So I'm hoping it'll go up this fence. And then there's another one under here behind all these weeds. Right there, that is a bad weed. Pull that. That is dark green. Anyway, I'm doing well. Robin was just showing me along my weedy fence line, he planted some beans. So they'll grow up on this fence, and that's cool. Our asparagus is all huge. I just realized I didn't show you guys what I planted in the toilet. I talked about the beans in the back, but I didn't tell you about what is down in the toilet bowl. It is toothache plant, or I believe it's also called electric daisy. The buds of this plant have a numbing effect when you chew on them. I have them everywhere, and I'm hoping they're not like invasive or crazy, because I seeded them in the trays and it was a lot. They just all came up, so I had a whole tray of them. Now I'm kind of just putting them all over the place, and they're kind of a shorter ground cover type plant. I've got them in this bed, I've got them in the other raised beds. So hopefully they'll help with weed control and not go too crazy. Looks like the boys are picking radishes. Our zucchini and squash here, that one there is sad. The rest have taken off. I have already seen squash bugs. They're definitely affecting the plants I've seen them on. This one, that one, and that one. I have killed them all by hand, and this one. But some of them are doing well. I think we will have some squash in a few weeks, maybe a couple weeks. There's some female flowers on them, but they are smaller than they have been in past years. What are you guys doing?
We found a yellow one.
A yellow radish?
Well, kind of yellow with white.
Okay, we planted
I want to
the...
Can I kill it?
Okay, what did you pick already, Robin?
I picked two, and Teddy picked two.
Okay, so do you want to just leave it for tomorrow?
Okay, I want you to pick it.
Okay, you can pick. I'm gonna let Teddy pick it.
Yeah.
Okay, Teddy can just pick it. It's a yellow one. We planted the Easter basket radish mix from Baker Creek this year, and also some giant pinks and giant German giants. I don't remember. A couple of other mixes. We are really enjoying eating cooked roasted radishes and stir-fried radishes. Those are very nice. They taste like kind of like a spicy garlic potato when they're cooked, and I really like that. I see a big one over here, guys.
Oh, can I pull it?
Yes, we'll pick a couple more. There's one right there, right in front of Teddy.
Oh.
Let Robin have the turn, Teddy. That one
Hey,
looks
Robin. Hey.
good. The weeds in these beds have really gotten under control since the radishes got big, which is what gave me the idea to plant radishes in the other bed. And I've got some smaller radishes in here, and there's still some weeds. There's some grass growing down there, but it's just slowed way down, and I water them every day, so it's not that. I don't think that one was very big, Teddy.
Two.
Okay, boys, go wash the radishes. This way. Hello.
Eddie has 1, I have 3.
Dude, not even. The radishes are not even. I will find you one more to pick. Can you wash them down there at the hose? That's the one. You were not supposed to get another one, Teddy. We're trying to make it even. That's enough. That's enough. Right?
Now
Got a radish bouquet?
Yes. Now it's even. Whooping!
Careful.
Don't rain on that pea.
Those are beans, buddy. Hey, did you get them rinsed off? You really could bring it back over here so that we're not going over the beans twice. Just leave it down there on the ground. The hoses needs to be over here, but not the... Oh. Okay, rinse the radishes. Okay. Oh, you gotta wash those too? Okay, once you get most of the dirt off, you can put them in the bowl with the beans, or the peas. I'll hold your... You could just wash it again.
Oh.
But I'll hold it. Okay. Okay. Wash that one.
Stop it.
We're gonna leave the dirt in the garden. Okay, now that you've flooded the bean row, let's put them in the... Hey, do you guys need scissors to cut the greens off? We're gonna feed all these greens to the rabbits. They love them, even though they are edible. The sheep love them more. Here, take the radish, buddy.
Could we just feed them to the sheep?
Yes, you can feed them to whatever you want. The sheep or the rabbits. In a few weeks, these bush beans will be so big we will not be able to walk in between here. But we'll have to come up with a new path at that point. How many strawberries do we have in there?
I do not know. Whoa, way more than just 2.
Oh, looks like there's a lot of dirt in our bowl. Alright, we'll wash everything when we get inside.
I'm gonna take these to the sheep now.
Let's wait Teddy finish cutting his first. Alright, we got our stick here. That's one branch off a red bud tree. We took all the leaves off and then stabbed it into the dirt, and now it's perfect climbing bridge for whatever beans come up in this tub. Teddy's setting up one on this side. Boys. What are you guys doing? Getting all the leaves off so we can make some more bean supports.
Yeah.
We also made a path to our cellar steps, which you still can't see, but they're back there, by cutting these branches off this redbud tree. And we're feeding all the leaves to our sheep. There's also, we gave them some ragweed, and Teddy's feeding them some chicory leaves. Okay, just stab it down in the dirt.
Well, these guys are...
Stab it down. Push it down a little more so it's sturdy. And then the beans that come up in there will climb up the sticks to get to the teepee. Looks good?
Yep.
Okay, Robin has a worm bin that he's working on. Would you like to tell them about your worm bin, Robin?
There's probably worms down in the dirt if you look blue at, and I gave them a strawberry a little while ago, and it looks like they're not eating it.
So you put worms in the bin, in the bucket. The bucket has holes in the bottom, right?
Yes.
And there's worms in here, and you're giving them some grass and leaves and a strawberry. Is there anything else in the bucket? Is there some rabbit poop in there?
Cardboard in the
Cardboard,
bottom.
okay. We're using the soil from the driveway project, so it's very rocky and definitely needs some improvement. So maybe the worms can make it better. We'll see. He's come up with this project and I'm letting him do whatever he wants with it. We need a lid for our bucket, but he's been covering it with cardboard. And we keep the bucket on the north side of our house, so it's kind of shaded. All right, I'm walking over to the last area of the garden that we haven't seen tonight. This is our cattle panel trellis arches. These are winter squash, primarily, along with some cherry tomatoes, some, I don't even know what that is. I think it's a butternut squash, actually. These are all winter squash, either butternut, Long Island cheese pumpkins, or zucchino rampicantes is what I planted back here. I don't mess around with anything with a hollow stem that can be easily destroyed by vine borers. And I've been walking around and finding these empty holes, like that one, that I am not sure why they are here. I thought I planted something in that, but I've had some issues with slugs eating plants to the ground overnight. I really want to understand why my loofahs are struggling so much. I started them in soil blocks, and that usually makes things happier, and this one is just struggling, and so are most of the others. I showed you the ones over by the other fence that are just starting to get green leaves. This one is doing that. There's one over there. It doesn't look good. I'm just hoping they eventually take off and make some good loofahs. So to get actual loofahs off of your loofah, it really helps to have a long growing season. But I am primarily not growing them for loofahs at this point. We're growing them to eat. We like, when you pick them when they're about like this big around and maybe 12 inches long, they taste like just about like zucchini. It's a little bit different. And they produce all the way up till frost if you keep picking off the small immature loofahs. So it's a good source of summer squash without the pest pressure, if you can get them to actually grow, because I've never had this much trouble with them. I normally start them in like a solo cup size container and they do fine. I started them in 2-inch soil blocks, and I thought they would be good to go straight into the ground from that, and they're just not doing well. This is the other area we haven't looked at yet. These are my in-ground, like this is kind of, it used to be a raised bed, but we took the edges off, so it's gonna a mound. And I did a lot of, added a lot to improve it this year, so I really thought the plants we put in here would do better than normal. Just because of the amendments we put in the soil. It's mostly like hay and goat poop, like our usual stuff, but usually I don't add much to this bed. I'll go years without adding anything. And these plants have struggled, and they were the first ones to go in, but they did go in right before a big rainstorm, and then it got really dry, and then slugs took over, eating them all. Like all of these holes, let me show you. These peppers, all those little holes, they look like Swiss cheese, and that was from slugs. This one is okay. But see how they're kind of a little yellow? That's from the overwatering, I assume, and I'm not sure what else. These guys, their new growth on the top looks good and green, so I think they're all going to make a recovery and come back from this. Sorry, I'm not focusing on the camera. And around this bed, we had a gap in the weed fabric because of the change in the bed, and I didn't want to make new weed fabric for this, so we took advantage of that gap and planted onions and kale, and some of these are actually broccoli, but I don't expect them to make broccoli because that's how our broccoli plants go. But like this is a giant broccoli plant, and we've got nothing. This is all a different kind of kale than what I have on the other side of the garden. I've been really struggling with slugs on that too, and I've been seeing cabbage moths everywhere, so I assume we'll have all sorts of caterpillars soon. And I will probably spray, yep, there goes a cabbage moth, little white butterfly. I'll probably spray some BT on these to keep them from absolutely destroying all of it. Just, because I want to keep my kale as long as we can. But anyway, it's kind of neat how it made a wall around them. The peppers will eventually get taller than the kale, except this kale that we planted here is, this is a walking stick kale that we started in the fall indoors, and we kept it inside all winter. It kind of got a little stunted for a while there. It's about 2 feet tall now. It should just keep growing and grow up to, like, I don't know, 15 or 20 feet tall from what they say. I clearly missed this tomato when I was pruning, but it gives me an opportunity to show you what I did with tomatoes, like even better than I was showing you over there where I missed another one. I'm not, like, how did I miss these? I missed this one over here too, but partly probably because they don't usually put tomatoes here. My kids have stolen my scissors, so that's fun. I'm gonna go find some scissors, and I'm gonna grab some more bean seeds. I've been keeping pole bean seeds in my pocket to poke in all these holes because I want all these trellises covered in food all summer. And I know that my winter squash, my cucumbers are not going to keep making food all summer. I know that if I plant pole beans, I'm going to be planting like a version of the Chinese yard long bean, that it will continue to make food into the fall, especially if I plant them now, which is, you know, probably a month later than normal. All right, I got my seed pocket back filled up. I've also got sunflower seeds in my pocket so that I can keep poking sunflower seeds in places. I'm having a horrible time. I can see a kid over there with fly swatter. Horrible time germinating sunflower seeds in the ground. Everybody does it, and every time I try it, something eats them. So I've also got some in trays, but I'm gonna see what I can get to come up by just poking them around all over the garden. Now, Teddy doesn't know what he did with my scissors. So we're going to prune this tomato plant with my fingers. You can usually just pinch off the leaves, but it's a cleaner process with scissors. This is a Bosk Blue Bumblebee. It's kind of like a small salad tomato is what I would call it. Yeah, and that is just gonna be really hard. You don't usually want to pick them off like this, like I just did, because you can peel down the skin, and that's not good, or the whatever you call that on the tomato. But if you make sure to go up and down like that, you can do it. Now this is a sucker, like I was showing you earlier. We could root this one, but it's a little short, so I may try to root this one instead, and I will cut off these 2 leaves to make it taller. I'm not sure how many. Look at all these suckers. This is crazy town. I don't need this many branches. We got 2 bigger branches up here. I'll keep those. One of them, this one, is also a sucker, but it's already got buds on it, and I don't mind having the tomato plant make a Y when it gets to that size. I just don't want it to like branch off in 16 directions from the very bottom, because the more leaves it has down here, the less airflow and the more splash back and fungal issues you have, at least in our climate. So if you don't have a wet climate, or you grow your tomatoes in a tunnel of some sort to keep them drier, they don't, oops, I didn't mean to break that one, then they don't need all of this pruning necessarily. So here's another sucker here, and there's another one there. So now I'm gonna let those 2 take off and weave them through my stuff. Uh-oh, I just found something. It's aphids. Oh, okay, so I'm gonna wipe those off. I've been watching, because it's about the time of year that I usually get aphids on my tomato plants. So that's the first ones I've seen. I have this pile of leaves here that I don't see a whole lot of aphids on any of this, maybe a couple. I'm gonna get rid of those. These are the yard-long beans we've been planting everywhere. I just put some in this hole, and anyway, here's another tomato just like the last one, and it is already pruned. What are you asking, buddy? There's no flies in here because there's no poop. The flies are over by the animals, because that's where the animals poop, and the flies lay their eggs in the poop, and I don't really need to be making a whole video about that. Here's another one of our strange, sickly little loofahs. Surely with all of these we'll get some loofahs, right, Teddy?
Yep.
Yep. Okay, so we're gonna be all done with this video for today. Hope you enjoyed seeing how ridiculously much this garden has grown in, it's been 12 days since my last garden update video. I believe the other one is mid-May in the garden is the name of it. You can go kind of just watch that if you missed it and see how crazy different it is than this. It's gonna be another week or two and we will have even more dramatic change here, and hopefully we'll be getting more harvests in a few weeks. It'll probably be we're gonna be harvesting peas and strawberries for a while longer, and then onions and garlic are coming up really soon. Probably we'll be picking the first onions, the red variety that is almost ready, next time, and the garlic is almost ready. It's probably going to be I would guess 3 more weeks on garlic and onions. What do you think, Teddy? Good. And then potatoes, and then tomatoes and peppers and green beans. The bush beans will produce first. We actually planted some bush beans that were 44-day varieties, which is I love. They're so fast, but I need to stop talking and close out this video. So see you next time.
Bye.